Briscoe from the Charlotte 5 podcast here. Our regular episode will be coming out later this week, but first we have a special treat for you. Charlotte 5 launched an event series last week called 35 Below. It's a breakfast series for Charlotte professionals, basically to bring them together for networking, to connect with each other, but also to hear from and interact with some really interesting people doing really cool stuff in the city. The first event was at 5 Church, and we talked to executive chef Jamie Lynch, who was also on the most recent season of Top Chef, and operating partner Patrick Whalen. We did talk a lot about the restaurant industry and 5 Church and kind of how the whole business got started and how they've made it so successful. But a lot of what we talked about also applies to any kind of business and even just regular parts of life, lessons that you can take away from this. And let me just tell you, you should listen to what Patrick has to say about failure and making mistakes. It's amazing. It's inspiring. I really need him to be my life coach every morning. He's awesome. We recorded the talk, and we wanted to play it here for you. Now, it was our first time doing a live recording, so the sound quality isn't ideal, so sorry in advance for that. We also do a Q&A portion where you might not be able to hear the questions, but we hope that the answers were still interesting enough that we wanted to keep them on there. So it's not the most ideal situation. We'll try to make it better in the future, but we really think it's a great conversation we wanted you to hear. And also, we want these to be really honest and unfiltered and frank talks, so in this case, it means that a few of the panelists use some bad words, I guess I'll say. So if you have sensitive ears, you might want to hold off. But basically, there's a reason this podcast has the explicit tag. So apologies for that. But again, we wanted them to kind of be honest and tell us really what it's like to run a business and kind of be unfiltered in these talks. So that's part of that, I guess. Lastly, I want to thank all of the partners with 35 Below who came together and made it possible and made a great event last week. It was really cool. And thanks, as always, to Ortho Carolina, who powers the Charlotte 5 podcast. So with that, we'll go over to the talk now. And again, the regular episode for this week will be coming out a little bit later.
This morning, we are going to be doing sort of a live interview with Jamie Lynch, who is the executive chef here at 5 Church, and with Patrick Whalen, who is one of the founding partners and operating partner here at 5 Church. And the way we're going to do this is Corey and I are going to interview them for a little while, and then we're going to turn it over to you guys to ask some questions of them, and then actually we're going to turn it over to them to ask a few questions of you guys, because we think of you as sort of a brain trust here this morning, and it's a cool opportunity for them to kind of get some feedback from some really top minds in the city. So with that, we'll get started.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for doing this with us. We're really excited about this conversation. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, so thank you all again. I guess let's start by just kind of tell us the story of 5 Church and also y'all's relationship. How did this team get together, and why did y'all decide to open a restaurant?
That one's on you, Pat.
It's me?
Yeah, that's for Pat.
Okay. So, hello? Am I on?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. 5 Church started almost 5 years ago now, but 5 Church really started a year before that. I was working at a nightclub called Butter, and Jamie was working as a sous chef or chef de cuisine at Barrington's in Myers Park or South Park, and we were pretty unhappy at our jobs. Not that there wasn't components that were fulfilling, but we felt like we had to play by other people's rules. And then from an option standpoint, Charlotte at the time, I think it's gotten better, but restaurant-wise, there was a lot of corporate. There still is a lot of corporate, and there wasn't a lot of, there weren't a lot of independent operators that were providing a creative environment for young professionals to really succeed. And certainly not a lot from an entrepreneurial standpoint where you could really do your own thing. And so we started 5 Church basically to just break out, to break free of that corporate model. I realize that a lot of people here work at corporate businesses. Corporate restaurants are different than corporate businesses. Let's be clear about that. You guys are all doing the right thing. Keep on that track. But and there's nothing wrong with corporate restaurants, except to say that I think this experience that we have on a daily basis at a restaurant is very personal. It's very emotional. You're emotionally committed to food and the people that you're eating with. And so there's something sort of inherently flawed with the corporate business model when it comes to restaurants. And so we wanted to break out. We found Jamie very accidentally. And I saw his resume and didn't really believe it because at the time Charlotte really didn't have chefs like Jamie that we didn't know about. Like the guy worked at Le Cirque and Cafe Boulud and Tocqueville and some places in New York that if you've lived in New York or visited New York, you know about. These are top of the mountain kind of restaurants, and I thought his resume was bullshit. I was like, there's no way. And so we did a tasting of a bunch of food of his, and we were just blown away. And I think we offered him partnership the next day. That's the beginning. There's a lot more, but that's sort of the first steps of the process.
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know, you've been here almost 5 years, right?
5 years in May.
Okay, and you have expanded exponentially. You are now in Charleston and Atlanta. So, my first question is, why go? So, Charleston is such a food and restaurant inundated city. Why choose that? That seems like a risky move. It seems scary.
Well, I think that's exactly why we chose it. Charlotte, we were able to cut our teeth here. It afforded us a lot of opportunities that we wouldn't have had if we were in New York or somewhere else. And with kind of the feedback and success that we had here, we wanted a chance to kind of flex our restaurant muscles a little bit. And what better place to do it than a town like Charleston, where there's amazing chefs, there's amazing restaurants in a very small area. And we felt, after 3 years of operating here, that why not us? We definitely felt like we were operating at a very high level, and that we were going to bring something different to a market that was kind of stuck in its low country ways. I mean, everybody's got shrimp and grits, and everybody's got all that stuff on their menus, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted to do something different, and I think that's a huge part of kind of our company culture, is to do something different and to take a risk,
So how do Charleston chefs and owners react when you come into their town and say, like, y'all are stuck in your ways, we're going to mix it up, we're from Charlotte?
Pat, you want to
We didn't say that.
we didn't say that. No, we said we were honored to be here.
Yeah,
and we really hope that we could do
This
something
is the center
special.
of the restaurant universe. And
Thank you
you
for having us. And they took a dump on us.
Yeah. I don't know how candid we should be right now. This is a public record, but I think that I think the city of Charleston now has accepted us and has been excited about us. But there is the charm of Charleston is that it is not chock full of chain restaurants. It's sort of the rejection of that model, and we came down there as a perceived chain. Of course, we're not, but that was a perception. And for what it's worth, I think that our model was built around saying "go fuck yourself" to anybody who didn't agree with us. And so, sorry, it's starting early.
We just got an E explicit rating.
I love when we get the E on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm good with this. This is awesome.
But and to that point is that I think what Charlestonians in particular are resistant of is the perception that you can get the experience you're having in Charleston anywhere. I think that they like the fact that it's a totally unique city. And Five Church in Charleston, while it has the Art of War on the ceiling, and certainly you would know that you're in a Five Church, is a very different restaurant. It's a menu that's wholly unique to that store. And yes, our fingerprints are all over it, but it feels different. It's a different restaurant. And once they sort of accepted that, I think that there was a lot more acceptance. In the beginning, the first 3-4 months, they were not super thrilled. We didn't get a lot of welcome to the neighborhood gift baskets and like chef tasting group dinners. There wasn't a lot of that. There was a lot of I think a lot of resistance in the beginning, but that's changed pretty dramatically since then.
So you talked about that a little bit, but I was going to ask, how do you go about kind of building or maintaining a brand as you're spreading it over different cities? Like how much do you keep? How much do you change? Because like Five Church makes a lot of sense here, where we're on 5th and Church, but like in Charleston it doesn't make any sense. So like how do you kind of make those decisions?
I mean, I think for us, the way that Five Church is us. I mean, it's definitely it's part of our arms, it's our legs. Like we are this place, and for us to open another Five Church, one of us needs to be present. You have to have ownership on site. You have to have, the soul of the restaurant comes from us. We created the company culture. We created the everything about it. So one of us has to be there for it to be a Five Church. You know, you can't just take the feather lights and drop them in a corporate box, type restaurant and call it a Five Church. It's just, it won't be the same. So that's part of our model is if we do it, we need to be present.
I think from a strategy standpoint, you got to figure out, and that's the core component is like, what are the things that are most important to you as a brand, and how do you transfer them to another location? Like Jamie said, it's not necessarily the cosmetics, which obviously are fairly noticeable in this place. Right. Or necessarily like a certain dish, although there are things that go from place to place. But what do you most believe? What's made you a success, or what do you believe has made you a success? And in our case, and Jamie just said it, I mean, we believe strongly that what made us a success in the beginning, we've got great food. And you get great food at a lot of places. We got a cool restaurant that looks kind of like a lighting store, but you can get that
really cool lighting
store in the future. But you can go to cool restaurants. I mean, I don't know that those are the things that made us a success, at least in the beginning. I think what made us a success was a really effective balance of good service with really good food, with a cool room, and people that were passionate about what they were doing. The people that worked here, the ownership, the management, and then the day-to-day staff, I think, really cared. I mean, Colleen Burney, who's standing right there, has been with us. she just gave me the thumbs up.
Clearly, she's part of the team.
She called me number one. But,
she did.
So I mean, she's been with us since basically we opened the restaurant. A lot of our staff has been with us for 5 years now, and that culture is ultimately something that you feel when you're working somewhere, or when you're going somewhere, but you don't necessarily know it. Like, you go out to eat and it feels good. I'm sure you guys have all had that experience, and you don't necessarily know why, because maybe you've had better dish somewhere else, you've had better service somewhere else, but something about that place just makes you feel good. And ultimately, I'm not saying that we can bottle that, but I do think that the culture that we provided creates that kind of environment where it's conducive to having an experience that really makes you feel good when you leave.
So you guys are both pretty young. You're both in your 30s. You were in your early 30s when you started.
Thanks, Sarah.
You're in your 30s?
Are you not in your 30s?
No.
God, I feel lied to.
41.
Yes.
41.
All right.
Yeah.
So you were in your 30s when you started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just a little fake news there for you guys.
Yeah. He was almost in his 20s.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what I'm talking about, but...
It's okay. We're with you.
Yeah.
30s.
41 going on 25.
Has that been an advantage? Has it been a disadvantage? I'm sure it's been both at some different times. How have you used that?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
For sure. God, I don't even know how to answer that.
I'll answer.
Yeah,
I'll start.
You
start.
go. I'm thinking about all the mistakes we made. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, if I had more experience.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
It's good because when you're young, you've got energy.
Yeah.
And when you're young, you have passion. And maybe you do when you get older too. I don't know yet, but I think when you're and when you're young, I think that your naivete is a good thing. Your ignorance is a good thing to a degree because you're like, yeah, I can do it. Why not? And I look back now at opening this place, and I was like, we were out of our fucking minds. What were we possibly thinking?
We had no
doing
business
this. We had no money in the bank account when we opened. We were negative balance. If we had not been an almost immediate success, we would have failed, and we would have failed in 3 months. Yeah. And they'd be like, wasn't there something here, 7 church or igloo or something? But I think as we've grown, the maturity comes with the mistakes, and I know that we're probably going to talk about that, but the youth, the exuberance of being passionate about what you believe is what, like I said, was what funded, I think, our success in the beginning. It wasn't money, it wasn't capital. You can get money anywhere, right? You guys are all going to be able to get a loan from somebody or convince somebody to buy what you're selling. Money is bullshit. Money is not real. I mean, it is when the bills are due, but it's really bullshit. It's a scam. What really counts is talent, passion, creativity, inspiration, hard work. Those are the things that ultimately fund success once you pass that sort of minimum litmus test of cash requirements. And we, I guess, by a hair, got over that litmus test. But being young was a good thing because now we're a little bit older, but we still recognized that that's what made us successful. And so actually, when these guys first approached us about this, we were really excited because, you guys are the customer base of the future for us. You see restaurants that open that are really hot, and as they get older, people perceive them as being like fine dining or an old people restaurant. The lifeblood of a business is young business, is new business. All the people that were like 38 that were like bawling out or whatever when we were brand new, they're 43 and they're like going to bed at 9 o'clock. Jamie, like fucking old and like done. And but they're going to bed. We need to reach out to a younger generation of people, and we need to connect with the millennials. I know that's a word that we say a lot now, but we need to connect to them, and we need to understand that if we want to be here for the duration of our lease, which is 15 more years or more, then we have to keep the business young. So being young, either in mind or body, is an important part of the business.
So now that I've passed the point of offending you with your age, I'm just going to jump right into, let's talk about your failures.
Perfect.
Oh, God, where do we start?
So you guys, you've had restaurants that are not still in existence. I'm sure you've had chefs or staff that's not still in existence. How do you deal with that? How do you move forward from that? Like, what do you do with that?
Well, for me, it takes a lot of humility. You have to kind of. One of the kind of core beliefs of our group is, from a ownership or management standpoint, and our staff too, is you have to be able to say, I fucked up. You have to be able to make a mistake, and that's not an excuse, right? Like, I fucked up isn't like, oh, I fucked up, like it'll be fine. So you have to mean it. You have to say, okay, I see where I went wrong. I'm owning that mistake, and how do we move forward? And I think that's something that we learned pretty early on is like, you have to be able to do that, and you have to be able to own those and and learn from them. And if you can do that, then you can continue to grow. You can continue to excel. So, I mean, that's been kind of the key for me is owning that humility and realizing that even no matter how talented you are or what you think there's always somebody who knows more, and there's always something to learn, and you need to be able to be open to that. And if you are open to that or become open to that, then you'll get over those humps. It doesn't sting as hard when you're gonna come out better on the other side.
Can you answer that?
Yeah,
we're all gonna fuck up. Yeah. Like, we're all gonna fail. You guys are all gonna fail. You're all failures. Just deal with it right now. Like,
might happen today.
That's you're also not gonna like burst into a ball of like fire if you fail. It's like the belief that you're going to succeed at everything is just egomaniacal and stupid. It's a waste of time. There are better ways to spend your time. I think that failure is important. I mean, who here has? You guys all raise your hands because I know you do it. Who's on Yelp here? Who uses Yelp? Who writes reviews on Yelp? Right? Okay, most people here. Who else here is in the restaurant business or in retail? Anybody? Okay. Are most of you guys in like banking or finance or most of the businesses that sort of supply Charlotte with its customer base? Okay. Have you guys who are not in the retail sector ever gone online and read a review about you? Where they're like, I don't know what you guys do, transferring loans or, I don't know, consolidating debt. And Susie I really wanted to like her. I walked in and I wanted to like her so bad, but I was just disappointed. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in like the normal world, or if it does, it happens from your boss. It doesn't happen from like Joe Schmo customer who might be lying for whatever reason. And I think that how this ties back to failure is that we fail every day, and we're notified in the restaurant business. Like, we're notified
publicly,
daily, publicly. Patrick Whalen came to my table, and boo, it's like, that's how you all sound when you write reviews to me. It's not how you sound, but that's how it sounds to me. But if you're not willing to like muscle through the visceral reaction of being like, oh, my ego's hurt, to try to find some truth, even if they're being obnoxious or condescending or whatever it is, you have to be able to funnel through that kind of bullshit to find the truth, even from people that you don't want to hear from, because they're the ones you need the most. The ones that you got. The ones that you don't have are the ones that matter.
Right.
And so when they say, I didn't like my dish, they're not saying it because they're like, hey, I want to ruin this guy's day. They're saying it because they didn't like the dish, or they didn't like the lighting, or they didn't like the service, they didn't like the music, whatever. And it's your responsibility to take that failure, process it, see if it needs to change your direction in terms of your course of action, and then change. That's what failure is great. Pursue failure. Don't pursue success. Try to fail, because when you fail, that's where you learn. You don't learn from like winning.
Right.
Winning, like you don't learn from that shit. You learn from making mistakes. You know, anybody burn themselves on a stove? Okay, do you do it again after that? Well, unless you're a chef. Stay away if you're me. You're like, oh shit, I gotta hire somebody.
I cut my finger off in public.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Yeah.
feel like I just need this as a motivational speaker in the morning, like every morning to get fired up for the day.
Seriously. Just need
Pat's our
following me
spirit.
around.
He's our spirit animal. He's the Five Church spirit animal.
Seriously.
So you talked about Yelp. I was curious just to talk a little bit about technology and how that maybe affects the way you run a business, whether it be Yelp reviews, whether it be Open Table, whether it be people with their phones out taking Instagrams from above of their plates
Totally.
and posting it everywhere. Like, how does that change maybe the way you approach running this place or affect it?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, from a chef's perspective, I think I'm not super technologically savvy myself, but from Alejandro, our partner, I learned to kind of accept this kind of new thing for me, right? Because when I was cooking in New York, there wasn't cell phones and like Instagram and stuff like that. I think it's great from my perspective, because you're able to reach out and touch a potential customer base that you may never step inside your restaurant. People liking things and taking pictures, that's great, as long as your food looks good. If it doesn't, then it's not so good. So I think that's great. I follow a lot of that stuff now. I've got a ton of followers. Like I see what they're liking, what they're into, and it kind of helps steer, your direction, is like what people are looking for and what excites them, and that's what's exciting for me. I think that's why we're in this business, right? It's to take care. It's the hospitality business. We're here to take care of people. So you kind of figure out what the trends are and what people are digging on, and then you kind of see how you can kind of follow that direction.
Yeah, I have to share that we were in here the other day and we were having the coffee like you guys are, and we were like, why are there jelly beans in this coffee? Which I'm sure some of you guys probably wonder that. And they said for Instagram, because that's what people want on Instagram.
Yeah. They love it.
It's kind of, it's technology is great, but it's also kind of, it's amazing from the phone is just revolutionary.
Speaking of technology.
3 rings.
Alexander Graham Bell really gonna rock this shit with that one. This is going to be the most offensive podcast in the history of Charlotte
Really
5.
is.
Dude, I'm excited.
But here's the problem with technology. Technology is great, right? Technology is amazing, and it's allowed us to connect with you guys. I think it's ruining shit for you guys. I think it's like, yeah, you find out about a lot more, but some of my favorite experiences, at least from a restaurant standpoint, is like when I lived in New York, I'd come around a corner, and I would find a place. It was nothing. It was like Susie's whatever. And you'd walk in, and you wouldn't know what to expect before you walked in the door. And sometimes it wasn't great, but sometimes it was, and the times that it was so incredible. Because there's nothing, like, how do you make somebody fall in love with you, right? You guys know this one? You're young guys, you should know this. Give an unexpected gift at an unexpected time, right? Finding Forrester, you guys know that movie? Fuck, I'm old. So anyways, but that's what that is, right? You're finding something. You're finding an unexpected gift at an unexpected time by going into a place and not knowing what to expect and being surprised in a positive way. Now the surprise is gone, because you come around the corner, you're like, oh, what is this, Susie's? Well, let's look it up. And you got like they got Susie's on Yelp and Susie's on TripAdvisor and Susie's on Open Table. And I think that that kind of spoils it a little bit. And so that's why we've worked hard here to keep changing up. We redesign the place periodically. We change our menu daily. Like, you have to adapt your model so that it's not boring, because that's how we relate to you guys, is through inspiration, and we can't do that if you know exactly what you're going to get before you get it. That makes us fucking corporate. Right. That makes us exactly what we've been trying not to be. So I was like, Sarah, how many F-bombs can I drop in this
I definitely
podcast
give
here
you
today?
this much permission.
She was like, a couple.
Yeah.
So,
All right, well, we're going to turn this over to Q&A from you guys, but really quick, I have one last question because we haven't even touched on the fact that we have a celebrity chef here with Jamie Lynch, who was on Top Chef this past season. And so I want to ask sort of the juicy, like, tell us how reality is reality.
I mean, this is the only reality thing I've been on, so I don't have a lot of experience with it. But you know, from watching the show, kind of after it came out, I think that it's fairly real. For you know, what you see, kind of is totally what happened. You know, obviously they edit it, they edit you kind of however they want you to look. You know, yeah, like what you see is what you get on that show. You know, anyways, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you guys try to get more out of him.
Ask more.
What do you want to know? Yeah, you got to ask direct questions. Yeah, you throw, you leave it up there. I'm like, just scoot around that one.
All right, I am going to open it up to you guys. Does anybody have any questions for these two?
No questions. Yeah. Hey.
I'm wondering from a collaboration standpoint, like, you know, you found Jamie by accident, you guys have this great anti-corporate type of mindset that you share. There has to be something you disagree on. Something in execution. What is it that you guys don't jive on, and how do you make a decision to
Wow. Well, okay, so yes, we disagree often. How many times have we? Wait a minute. So here we go. So I mean, often we will have loud discussions in an office somewhere, not in the restaurant. No, I mean, we disagree on a lot of things, you know, but I think one thing that makes us kind of different and exceptional is that we're able to kind of, you know, you kind of get that shit out. You know, we both have different opinions. We feel strongly about it. And then you sit back for a minute and you kind of weed through the rubble and figure out what direction to go in and what the right move is. And it's not always what you want or what he wants. You know, it's ultimately what's going to be best for our guests.
I don't think has there ever been a time where we were like, there's never been a moment, I don't think, ever, that I remember, where it was like, we're doing this because I say so. Has there ever been that? I mean, I don't remember. Maybe there was.
The interview that broke apart 5 years ago.
No, this isn't. No, trust me, we've been through worse. This isn't gonna. No, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, there's always a discussion. Sometimes it's heated.
Yeah,
but we both feel strongly about what we think, you know, and so we do disagree. But ultimately, for us, I think it's that ability to communicate and that respect for each other and our opinions that, you know, like, I don't always get what I want on the menu. I've been trying to take that 60-second steak off since we opened. Seriously. And he's like, no fucking way. It stays. And I'm like, dude. And he's like, it's like unique and it's cool. I'm like, all right, fine. And we sell a lot of it. So I'm like, all right, fine. But, you know, so... You know, we disagree a lot, but it's you know, that respect for each other and our ability to communicate with each other and to kind of sort through those differences to figure out what's right for us as a group. You know, I think is.
I don't think that we've ever
stuck on this.
We've ever been like, no, fuck you, we're doing this. I don't think we've ever. I think it's always come to a point where it's like, this is the reasoning for this side. This is the reasoning for this side.
So we're going to agree to disagree on this one.
No, we'll agree.
We will agree.
We're going to hash this out right here.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I think, again, what did I say about how you expand? You expand by find out what are the core components of what makes you a success, and when you can always come back to that, I think that you can find common ground. If you don't agree as to what makes you successful, if I went to Jamie and I was like, hey, I think we should just only sell pizzas from now on, he'd be like, all right, well, no, we're not doing that.
Like, you know how to make pizza?
Exactly. Like, nope, I eat it. But, you know, I think that we've never had to be put in that position before. So to answer your question, I think the baseline of any successful partnership is a respect between the partners.
Yeah.
Whether it's creative or financially or whatever. You know, if you start get in a situation where you pull rank or experience or knowledge and try to do all that, then you're going to have a minefield of problems that sooner or later you're going to hit something.
That was a great question.
Yeah,
What
that was
else? Any others?
All right, so we see other successful businesses that start in Charlotte trying to expand within the market. Are there any ambitions or plans in Charlotte specifically for Five Church to branch out maybe a different type of restaurant?
So to do a different concept, but so we did Nana
Yes.
Byron's.
I mean, no.
So we did Nana Byron's, which we categorically refer to that as a failure, but it really wasn't a failure. We were making plenty of money there. It was a successful business. I think that unfortunately, with our expansion of Five Church, we really lost focus more than we would have liked, and it suffered as a result. But the process of expanding out of market really tests your infrastructure, and now that we've been through that and we know kind of what pieces we have, it makes it a lot easier to refocus on the market that you're already in. And so, is there an imminent plan? I don't know. I don't think so. But I would imagine we're going to get bored. That's what happens. We get the thing open, we get it working, we get the business model working, then we get anxious and we want to do something else. So I know that Jamie and I are both pretty excited about the idea of maybe something a little smaller, a little different. It's not quite so volume heavy. But
I mean, I think it's just the nature of kind of who we are too, as as operators, as a chef, as a restaurateur. It's like we always want to kind of do, you want to keep doing something, So, we constantly talk about doing stuff. We're like, it's what keeps us motivated to keep doing what we're doing. It's like, oh, what about this? What about that? And then,
Well, it's like when we opened this, we had something to say. Like, I think the point was when we opened here, we looked around the market, we were like, wow, there's nothing for us. We're in our mid-30s or early 30s. There was nothing for us uptown.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at what the landscape of the restaurant business was, uptown Charlotte in 2011, 2010, 2012, there was nothing for, I'm 31, I'm newly married, I've got a little bit of money, where do I go? For American food or for New American? You can go to Capitol Grill, you can go to Dandelion Market. They're both great, but they're satisfying very different ends of the spectrum. And Five Church was designed specifically to fall right in the middle. Right. Say, okay, you're not going to spend 25 and you're not going to spend 85. You're going to spend $45 or $50. But we said that, and we've said it now in 3 different cities, and I think that what we have to say has changed, and we want to keep talking. Obviously.
All right, I think we have time for one more question. Anybody else? Yeah.
That's so funny that you just asked it. So I went to a panel in Charleston for Wine and Food Festival, and Danny Meyer was on the panel. Do you guys know who Danny Meyer is? Okay. So he's probably the most successful restaurateur in the country.
Yeah.
Not probably, he is.
Yeah, he
is. So I asked him a question because I was in the audience just like obsessing. And I asked him.
Fanboying out.
Yeah, totally. And I asked him, the distinction between doing what's safe. I referenced Open Table versus Resi or Yelp reservations. There's other systems, but the question really was, at what point do you play it safe and rely on infrastructure, and what point do you innovate and you adapt? And the right thing to do, I think, is you're asking when is the right time to adapt, basically, or how do you adapt and succeed, and when you fail, how do you know that you're failing? Is that right?
Yeah, it's more
Okay. These bar stools suck, and I really wanted them to work. Nana Byron's is a good example of us trying to adapt. We were like, okay, we did a high-end restaurant or upmarket restaurant. We want to go middle of the fairway. We want to make everybody happy. We want to have burgers and fries and sports on TV and blah, blah, blah. And what we realized was it doesn't speak to us at all in any way. We weren't inspired. We were bored. It's a great location. It's going to be woos now. So, but that's what I call it.
Asian Cajun. Get
Cajun.
excited for that.
Listen, I think they'll do fine. They're good operators. They're good. They're very good operators. But we weren't inspired, and it was very clear from almost day one that our attempt to adapt from upmarket to mid-market wasn't going to work. because it didn't speak to us. Whereas when we went to Charleston and we got our initial reviews back from the food critics down there, and they absolutely blasted us out of the water, and they were like, "You guys suck. NASCAR sucks. Charlotte sucks. You guys go back to Charlotte."
by name. They blasted us by name.
Patrick and Jamie both suck. For real. They're like, "Oh, Dale Earnhardt's name is on the ceiling." I'm like, "No, it's not. What are you talking about? Sun Tzu's name is on the ceiling, asshole. Like, what are you talking about?" But what we did was we took the menu format that we had from Charlotte and we threw it out the window. We tore it into 1,000 pieces and we said, we need to create something new. We need to adapt. We need to change. Even though this concept worked and was working here, it wasn't going to work there in that iteration. So we really had to, take a hard look at ourselves and be like, you know what? We need to change. And we were inspired by that. That was the challenge. That was like the gauntlet. We bitch every day about the review that we got from the critic down there, and rightfully so, because she was very nasty about how she wrote it. But to be fair, she was right about some of the things that she said, and it really motivated us. That's the failure part, right? So that was the part where we got, really driven to change. Right?
Yeah, totally.
Thanks.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Good job, Pat.
That's the collaboration you're talking about right there.
1-2 punch.
Yeah.
All right, so one of the things that we wanted to do to make this breakfast a little bit different from usual, and hopefully you guys will be up for this, is we wanted to turn it over to Patrick and Jamie to ask just a couple of questions. We've got about 10 minutes here that would be questions that they think you guys might actually have some good answers for. So I'll let you guys kind of take it.
You got a question?
Yeah, so I got a question for all of you. Because I get asked a lot of questions, right, from being on Top Chef. Everyone's like, "Oh, what did your last meal be? What are the new trends? So what do you guys think are the new food trends coming up? Like, what are you guys excited about coming up in 2017? Is it tacos again this year? Is it
It's always
I think
tacos.
tacos. I'm over tacos. After Taco Apocalypse this weekend, I'm not cooking tacos for a minute. Yeah, what do you guys think? I mean, what are you guys excited about? What is,
Nothing.
Nothing?
Instagram.
Shout out some answers. Tell us.
Yeah, what are you guys excited about? You guys eat out? No? What is it?
Beef.
Beef?
Meat.
Meat? I like meat.
Yeah, we're
Just all meat.
Yeah.
we agree. Cocktails? You eat cocktails? Amen, sister.
Yeah.
I mean, fusion restaurants, right? I mean, Cowfish just absolutely murders South Park. I was just in Florida. Their store in Orlando, or Universal Studios, is just crazy busy. I mean, that could be the future. I mean, that's what New American really is, right? It's just like fusion of you basically have cover to do whatever kind of food you want, right?
Yeah, it's American.
New American.
Sure, New American.
Like Vita, Theo, and those types of restaurants, South American.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay.
Healthy.
Healthy?
Yeah.
I think healthy. Healthy's good.
We don't serve healthy, but that's good. That's really good.
Not here.
We have a lot of butter.
This place was built for flavor, okay? This isn't a diet. This isn't a diet restaurant. Say it again?
Yeah.
I dig
Why
it.
is that? I got a question. Why is that? Yep. It's personal, right? Feels personal.
Yep.
I like
Cool.
that answer a lot.
My 2 cents, that's it, man, guys. That's, we say it all the time, make business personal.
Yep.
This whole thing that business not personal. It's like, fuck you. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You just fired me. Now, what's more personal than that? Like, I'm on unemployment. Like, how is that not personal? I got to go home and tell my family that I don't have a job. Like, how is that not personal? I spend most of my waking hours here instead of with my kids or with my wife or doing things that I like. I'm at work. I'm not talking about me personally. I'm just saying anybody. How is that not personal? It is personal. And frankly, Instagram and Facebook and social media and all this stuff is making you, your personality, who you are. It's proliferating information about you in a way that normally 20 years ago nobody knew. Like, oh, that guy Joe, he seems like a real tough egg to crack. It's like, no, he's not. Look at his Instagram page. He's like hugging his daughter. And so what people are looking for, and I think what the future is personal. Connecting in a real way in person, not on the computer or not on your phone, but in a real way. And that's why people like restaurants where they feel like the owner's there. You know, let me speak to the owner. I'm like, if you were at Ruby Tuesdays and you did that, that's so absurd. Talk to the manager.
I'm going to try that next time.
But it's true. It's true. And that's why Jamie said before that Five Church needs to have an owner at it, because we always want to be able to accommodate that request as best we can. If an owner is here, now, I mean, if you guys come in and have a bad experience, don't ask for us. But we do want to be, we want that mom and pop feeling in spite of the fact it's a big store.
Right. Yeah. I think someone over here is going to add something if you still wanted to.
Yeah.
Who it was.
Do you guys want to ask? You want to ask another question?
Where do you guys get your information? Like, so let's say
Yeah, Charlotte
5.
Good job, Tyler.
You're welcome. I'll do that for you. No, I mean, like, for example, like it's Friday. You're gonna go out to eat. Are most of you guys married? I don't know how old. Is everybody here married or dating or serious? I don't know, kind of. I forget what you do then. All right. So when you guys decide you're gonna go out to eat, are most of the people here pre-children or maybe have one? Okay, so you're still living a semi-normal life. So when do you guys make a decision to go out to eat? I read recently that 90% of the people that make reservations read about a place first online, which is the craziest statistic ever. Where do you guys go to get your information about our business? Yelp.
Fuck. Instagram.
Right.
Instagram, Yelp.
Yeah.
Instagram, Google. Okay. Bloggers.
Yep.
Okay. So do you guys rely on information from friends? Like grassroots? What do you think has more value, grassroots or viral? Grassroots.
Yep.
So that's still
Yeah.
true. It's good.
That's how I get my information.
Yeah.
Like rate a review and feel connected to that person, even if they don't know them.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Interesting.
If it is grassroots and then you hear from a friend, you go to the restaurant, you can talk about it.
Right.
If it's a review online, you can't really have that discussion.
Right.
I mean, my experience as a customer has been that you kind of collect the data virally in the macro sense. Like you get all this data and you kind of formulate a number in your mind, but ultimately what pushes you over the top is like that friend or that colleague that's just like, oh, that place is amazing. No, they got a 60-second steak. It's the best steak ever, right? You can't take it off the menu. Like, I'm just saying. And then that's what really like seals the deal for you. It's like a movie. A movie gets good reviews, but you're like, I don't know. It's about like mountain climbing. I'm not that interested. And then somebody's like, no, you have to see it within a week. You've seen it, right? And that's just the way we are. So it's good to know that that's still, don't get too, this just started like 10 years ago. Like it's not going to stay. Like ultimately what connects us is this, not this, Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Right. You filter through it.
Yeah, I'm glad y'all can hear that because I'm deaf.
Can you repeat what he said?
So what did he say?
It's like you're saying basically that, one review is not going to make or break you. You have to filter through a lot of it. Like that's why you have this cumulative total, right? It's not like one review is what your review is. It's not like the old days. Like Jamie and I came up in New York.
Yeah, you got a bad review from the Times.
I know,
You were done.
Frank Bruni or whoever,
Dunzo.
right, Ruth Reichel comes in and gives you a 1-star review. You're donezo. Like you're gone. Whereas now, again, we got a really bad review in Charleston. Like it was, we were not used to. We were like, what are we reading? But I think we're at 4.5 stars on Open Table and 4 stars on Yelp and 4.5 stars on TripAdvisor. Like we've done enough to insulate ourselves by consistently delivering a good product to our guests, and that's where people get their information. They don't go like, what did Hannah Raskin say? I mean, some people will, but most of them will say, what's their score on Yelp? Or what's their score on Open Table?
Well, and she said Instagram. Like Instagram is our guest too.
Yeah.
I mean, on Instagram, our guests, like somebody taking a picture of a steak or taking a picture of whatever, or how beautiful our service staff is. That's coming from our guests too. It's just reaching a broader group.
Yeah. So do y'all pay a lot of attention to those reviews? Like, I feel like it would make you crazy if you really got too deep into
I've read
Yelp
every
day.
single review ever written about any of our restaurants.
We get crazy. We get crazy about them for like a minute.
Yeah.
It's like that whole like personal like make business personal thing. Like somebody like totally shits on your place. You're like, I want to choke somebody. You know what I mean? But then like
Mark F, I'm gonna find them.
yeah, you kind of relax for a minute.
I was gonna say there's been a couple managers meetings that just go completely derail with
sideways,
like
just
monologuing about. I was there that night. I know what happened to that table.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. They waited 6
So
minutes.
yeah, we listen to it, but then at the same time, you gotta like, you gotta kind of separate yourself from it, and then try to find the value of what they're saying, not just the,
I mean, brass tacks is an amazing resource. You're talking about in the old days, how would you know if somebody liked you or not? They would come back or they didn't.
Right.
So you're just like in the wind. You're just hoping that they had a good experience. Here you have, at least to a degree, quantifiable data. The problem that we have with the reviews is that online reviews account for about 1.5% to 2% of your total customer base. And so you have this like disproportionate representation, and Yelp and OpenTable, these guys pay, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to have their SEO be strong. So if you Google 5 Church right now, you're going to have our website, and immediately below they're going to have Yelp. We have 3.5 stars on Yelp because fuck it, and which isn't a very good score, to be honest with you. But I think our total reviews on Yelp is like 500 reviews, right? We've been open for 5 years. We average about 100,000 customers a year on dinner service alone. You're talking about what percentage is that? I mean, it's nothing. On top of that, it's reviews from 4 or 5 years ago. That's not necessarily what you're going to have today when you come in the store. So it's not that we don't like the reviews or we don't value them. It's that the way in which it's being delivered to you as customers is misrepresentation. 1% does not get to speak on behalf of the other 99%, but unfortunately, that's how it works.
That's how it's set up
right now.
That's why we like OpenTable.
Yeah.
OpenTable's great because you can only leave a review if you have checked in at the restaurant.
Yeah, don't use OpenTable only for
Because-
reviews. Seriously, that's because they came here. Or they wherever you guys are looking to go, they actually went there. They actually ate there, and they're giving legitimate feedback.
Right.
So on that note, you guys go home and put your reviews on Yelp and OpenTable. But thank you so much.
This breakfast is sponsored by OpenTable.
Thank you so much, Jamie and Patrick. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank all of you for being here. Please take home your Charlotte 5 mugs, use them around the office, and you have a couple of minutes. I think you can probably get a coffee refill if you need to, and mingle and meet each other. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Again, that was a special episode from our 35 Below series, which kicked off last week. We hope you enjoyed it. And again, the next episode of the Charlotte 5 podcast will be coming out later this week as our normal schedule goes. The Charlotte 5 podcast is powered by Ortho Carolina and a production of the Charlotte Observer. Thanks as always to Two Ways Media and producer Richard Brook. And we're also on Facebook at Charlotte 5 News, Twitter at Charlotte_5, and Instagram at CLT5. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. You can also find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. For Sarah Crossland, I'm Corey Ensko. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.